Okay, it is a Monday. It is December 1st. This is the California Weather Channel, where California weather meets California life, and we got a lot to talk about today. We've got snow in Mammoth. We've got big flight delays across the country, big snowstorm right through the holiday weekend. We've got, again, that valley fog, which is nasty, a coastal flood advisory. We've got nature snacks. We've got Goose Lake. What's that all about out in eastern California? We share a big lake, one of the biggest lakes in the West, and we share it with Oregon, Goose Lake. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But the big story is the fog. It has been everywhere, and it has been slow to burn off. Probably one of the most prolific fog events I can remember in the last, I'm going to say 20 years. Prolific, it's right. How do you quantify it? But it's just been persistent, staying put. It's extensive in that it's showing up. Well, we'll show you. It's showing up in San Jose. It's showing up in San Francisco. Valley fog, right? Showing up in Marin County, which it does from time to time, but not day after day after day. Here is the valley fog footprint. And you can see it's massive. It is basically running from, well, Bakersfield all the way down here, all the way up to Redding. And that fog is going to be around the next couple of days. And it's a pretty deep inversion, so it's up around 1,300 feet, or 1,800 feet, pardon me. So it's up into the foothills as well. So really cold. Lake Tahoe, areas like that, out of the fog. Elevated areas, out of the fog. Coastal sections, out of the fog. But the fog has been a mess. It's also created flight delays for San Francisco. Let's go backwards. Let's look at Mammoth Mountain. Right now, the temperature is 32 degrees. All my friends up at Palisades are bumming because it's too warm. They're making snow. We'll look at that. But it's almost too warm to make snow in some cases throughout the day. And they don't have a good base. Mammoth, of course, being up over 11,000 feet, had the ability to get a bunch of coverage on those last few weather systems. And we are dry. We've been dry for a while. That's what the valley fog's about, the stable environment. So pretty good base at Mammoth Mountain. It's just kind of fun, kind of novel to see the snow at Mammoth Mountain. It's also not novel to see all that fog. We can also pick out, too. Look at the Lake Tahoe area snow, right? You can see the visible satellite, or down towards the Tehachapi, or down towards the southern Sierra Nevada, right? No, or Tehachapi's way down here. But the idea being that you've got a lot of snow here and basically zero snow here. Mount Shasta here has some snow. So we get on with it. When is the fog going to break? When's that all going to change around? It's going to be a little while, at least through Wednesday. It looks like Wednesday we get a chance for a break. We'll look at the models upcoming. This is the temperatures, the cooler temperatures. I picked out the valley temperatures this morning. These are the overnight lows. We're all in the 40s and 50s. I took everything under 50 degrees. So these are or under 40 degrees. So these are the cool spots. So Lake Tahoe today, you can see, that's appropriate, calendar appropriate for Lake Tahoe to be in the upper 20s, low 30s. Down around Grass Valley, 34, 35 degrees, near freezing or at freezing in Auburn. And then in the Central Valley, you don't see any numbers showing up because those guys are all in the 40s. And then you get over to the Bay Area, and you get these holdouts. You get some 37s in Petaluma, 33 out by Olema. So pretty chill. Let's check out our friends in LA. See, I thinned out these numbers because if I do all the numbers and there's, the 40s and the 50s, you can't read them. But if you go for just the extremes like this, these are the extremes of below 40 degrees, you get an idea. So Bakersfield was in the 40s. 36 just outside Bakersfield is in the hills. Look at Santa Barbara up in the hills there. 26 degrees up behind town. And then you see up in the mountainous areas of Southern California as well. So it's cold. Let's put this on here. This is the satellite loop. And unfortunately, sometimes we had a really good run of weather there for a while, remember? A couple of weeks ago. Now we've got like this beautiful weather system. There's a trough right there. And then we've got kind of a drop down and kind of a double part ridge. You got two jets, right? You got a southern jet. And you got the northern jet. Southern jet has been active. The northern jet really is just, as this digs, this pumps up the ridge. And that's kind of where we are. It's a rough drawing, but that's kind of where we are. And that ridge of high pressure allows for the valley fog to be as prolific as it is. This is Mount Shasta. This is from Wairika. Mount Shasta today will be in the upper 50s. Beautiful shot. And again, there's that landslide. Now that we talked about it, I can't unsee it. Potentially the largest landslide on the planet Earth, which that's not quite, that hasn't been, that's thought to be possibly, that's how they state it in the books, but this whole side of the mountain just slid. And you can see from those landforms. And it's funny, I think I knew that from school. But when over these last year, I've been looking at it, I go, yeah, I try to explain those hummocks. What made those? But then when you go landslide, you go, that makes sense. Okay, Mount Shasta today. Beautiful shot. We can watch the sun come up. Let's just do it. 2 hours. Hope you had a good weekend. Oh, yeah, the holiday. Weather was, for my money, the weather on the holiday was sucky because I like it nice. It depended where you were, though. If you're in Paradise, right? Or even up in Redding, you had some pretty good sunshine. Cottonwood, up around just in the hills outside of Bakersfield, that Granite Bay outside of Sacramento. But for a lot of us, we were hunkered down inside with the heater on. Jeez. Okay, so this is a cool shot. This is Goose Lake. Kind of the tip of it. You're looking kind of the corner on the right here. This is Goose Lake over here. That is Mount Shasta here. And again, that's what makes it so stunning, that it stands out in the plain, right? So in this area, we're almost into Oregon. Goose Lake's half Oregon, half California. Goose Lake's story, it's big. It's 28 miles by 10 miles. It's shared with Oregon and California. It's alkaline, which no duh. It's one of the largest natural lakes in the American West. And this is the thing I didn't know. It dries out all the time. So 28 by 10 miles, this thing's a lake sometimes, and sometimes it's just a cracked floor, just like a basin. Dried out in 1920, died out in 1930. Dried out in 1990, dried out 2013 to 2015. There's water in it now. It's home to pronghorn antelope, mule deer, and golden eagles. And I've never been. Goose Lake's one of those places, I think my dad used to go duck hunting up there. I would have to check that. No, I was never much of a duck hunting. Duck hunters, you guys, I'm into it. I get it. Duck's awesome eating. But damn, it's cold, man. Duck hunting, getting up in pitch dark, sitting in those blinds, freezing This is Crescent City. Crescent City today is going to go 59 degrees. That's the ocean. So you're way up in Northern California. Looks pretty good. Valley fog, not an issue here at all. So that's Crescent City today, right now. We'll put a little loop on it as well. I'm in that mood. And you can always scrub ahead, nothing there. You can always scrub ahead to the forecast models, which are coming up. Lake Almanor, we know how that got its name. It still strikes me. Oop, camera switched on this. Oh, this scratches some synapses. This is the camera above Lake Almanor. But I just grew up on these roads. Whenever I see one of these roads, I'm like, because my dad was a hunter fisherman, and we grew up right just sort of east of here a little bit, or west of here, up in Paradise. So we would take these roads back way to Almanor. It sucked, and he'd roll the windows up, smoke cigarettes, right? Smokes, probably drinking beer too, right? Back roads, nobody's going to care. And 2-hour drive to get, and you're just like, oh, I know that road. Oh, Jesus, God. Oh, I know that road. So from here to the lake would be another hour and a half. Oh, my God. Rest in peace, Dad. This is, what do we got after Almanor? We got Mount Diablo. That clearly shows all the fog in the valley. And you can just see it spilling in. The fog from we saw it in the visible satellite. Now we're seeing it again in the live camera from Mount Diablo, not Mount Tam. It does look like Mount Tam. Pretty high, pretty deep inversion though, right? Because it's over 2,000 feet. Because what's Diablo? Diablo is 3,849 feet. So let's call it 4,000 feet. So inversion is easily 2,500 feet. That's a deep inversion. And then there's the fog. This is out by Sacramento Valley. This is kind of out in that Oak Grove area, Walnut Grove. And that's how it looks. Now, there's no dense fog advisories posted today. Well, there's a couple, but not very many. I guess the deck is high enough, like we just saw that in how high the inversion is. Maybe the visibility is fine. I'd still stick a dense fog advisory in there. They're having issues at SFO. They're having issues at Oakland. They're having issues. They're having some flight delays at Sacramento. This is Santa Barbara. It's like, I think, again, if we're all going to take a vote, come on. We live in California. We love California. Is sick and great from, from San Clemente to Bernie to it's awesome. It's San Francisco, bullying, right? It's awesome. But if we all took a vote and said, where would you live if you could anywhere in California? I think the majority of us would fall on this town. I think the weather's ridiculously good. The only thing they don't have is good snow skiing. You have to go all the way to the Mammoth. But in terms of just awesome climate, I think Santa Barbara's awesome. I know I shouldn't put that on you because I'm sure everybody's got their own take. But this is the fog down in Pasadena. In Glendale, they had some valley fog this morning. They hadn't been seeing it. They have some air quality issues down there too, which makes sense. They have an air quality alert down in Southern California because of the inversion, indicating that the morning commute, the fog, the smog, or the exhaust from the cars is trapped, and so you have kind of lessened air quality, and we can kind of see it right here. A little bit. We can kind of see it. That's what smog looks like. And it's a pretty tight inversion even down south. And then this is UC San Diego. San Diego will be in the 60s. Nice day. Okay, we did it. Now we're looking at the National Weather Service. Now we're getting down to business. This is where, this is the Bill Martin Weather Channel. Bill Martin West Coast Weather Channel. Supposed to say that. And this is where, I like this. This is where California weather meets California life. California weather meets California life. I kind of like that. I'm going to stick with that. This is the California weather. This is the green area here representing a coastal flood advisory. King tides, essentially big tides up to 6.4 feet. And then along the coast, the swell is up. We'll see that. So these are coastal warnings. No dense fog advisories here. This is out of Sacramento. This is out by Point Conception. You've got wind advisories in brown. You've got a freeze watch up in the Tehachapi's. We saw those temperatures down in the 30s. And then you've got a high surf advisory right along the coast there. And maximum temperatures, I like these. These are fun. National Weather Service looks like these guys are out of, out of Los Angeles. So look at some of those. So today, 70 in Los Angeles, 67 in San Luis Obispo, 70 in Ojai. And temperatures, let's just take LA, sort of trend down this week, but still 60. So a nice week ahead. So that's the story there. And then you go down towards San Diego and Eastern California, southeastern California. And you end up with freeze warnings. It's cold, frost advisories. And then here is your wind advisory right there. And then they got some lake winds, 30 to 40 miles an hour. And that's out towards Vegas. This is the Vegas Weather Service guys. These are the forecast highs for today, or the highs for today. And again, you'll notice the stratification of these numbers. They're all living in the fog. But you go either way. You go this side, you're back into the 60s, upper 50s, low 60s. And on the hills, you're warmer as well. It's in that Central Valley. It doesn't warm much out of the low 50s today. Even Redding is expected to be 52 degrees today. Tomorrow, a little warmer. And then Wednesday, you'll see coming up in the models, our best chance for a break. Here is the HRRR. I want that to load up better. Hang on. The HRRR, right? So, and this is a hacky. It's a good model. It's just a hacky display of fog. This is cloud cover, but we were using it because it's all we have to determine fog. And the thing I noticed today is it kind of goes away. So here we are, 17Z. So this 9 o'clock this morning. And then you see the fog kind of eroding away a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. And then some cloud cover comes in. That might be an indication of some wind shift. And that's what's eventually going to save us. So the fog does return. See how it comes back here underneath? Can't see it over the fog. So that's 6Z. So that's, tonight late, early tomorrow morning. So we'll see. If we look at the wind, that would be the mechanism to blow this thing out. And let's see. So here's California. Wind offshore. That's offshore flow, right? See how it's kind of pushing everything offshore? Because the valley fog's so cold. The ocean's warmer. It's basically a thermal gradient. I mean, there's a pressure gradient as well, but a thermal gradient, because it's so cold in the Central Valley. It's 52 in Sacramento, but it's 60 in San Francisco. That temperature difference draws the cool air out to the coast. I went by the Golden Gate Bridge the other day. I was coming back from surfing, I think maybe on Saturday, which is, that's when we were over the bridge. And the flag, the flag that flops around the Golden Gate Bridge, which I used to use a lot in the old days in TV. But the flag was straight out, looked like a gale going right out the gate. Because, that little narrow gap, because that fog, right? It wasn't that windy at the coast. It wasn't that windy in San Francisco, but that funneling, right? That cool air thermal thermal gradient was flying. It must have been blowing. That flag looked like it was going 25 miles an hour, just ripping. And everything on either end of the bridge, in the middle of the bridge, it wasn't even that windy. Okay, so here's the wind. We're watching for, this is tomorrow morning, same day tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, here we are Wednesday morning, right here. You see this piece? That's wind. I know this model's hard to read, but that's the wind. And you can see the barbs. The barbs represent these things, those wind barbs. That's the way the wind's blowing. Those feathers on the end make those the tail of the arrow. And there's the point of the arrow, right? And the end, those flags on the end represent knots, 10 knots, 10 knots, and 5 knots, the long ones. So here you got, I know it's hard to see, here you've got 20 knots, 2 long ones. And then if I could find a long and a short one, see these 2 long ones and a short one? That's 10 knots, and 5 knots, 25 knots, okay? And then, so, but it's basically, this is going to blow, it looks like it's going to blow the fog out. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. That is on Wednesday afternoon, and that would mark a significant change in the fog sun pattern that we've been seeing. Okay. Kids were home. It was awesome seeing them over Thanksgiving. My son's prolific. You should check out Billy Jawn, Jawn. He travels the world. He's like kind of a professional photographer, action sports guy. Works with Red Bull and Jamie O'Brien, those guys. But he was home. He travels everywhere. He's in Vegas now at some golf tournament. He and my daughter is home too. She's awesome too. But they both had brought home illness. So Pam and I both got colds. So I might sound a little funky. Okay, the ridge of high pressure. You're not going to see that wind so much. That would be the wind event right there. Right there. Right there, right? So you don't see it. But what you do see is it ain't going to rain. It ain't going to rain. Not with that ridge of high pressure. It's just not going to rain. So look, and then that ridge stays. Not going to rain. We are into next weekend, which at one point we thought it might rain. It looks a little more still. I don't know how Palisades gets their snow or North Star gets their snow made under a ridge like this. This is next week. Does it mean it's going to happen? No, not necessarily, but I'd say we're dry for the next week, maybe 8 days. For sure the next week. And then this is something here, and this is, where is that? That's December 14th. It's fantasy land, and then that trough looks awesome, and it gets going. But this pattern, man, that's a big ridge. After not having a lot of ridging, we're having a lot of ridging. So that's 500 millibars. This is sea level pressure. I'm looking for that Wednesday event. There it is. See the kinking of the isobars? That's where that wind piece comes in. So sea level pressure, GFS, Wednesday morning. See how close those lines are? So the winds are blowing this way because of the friction. At the upper elevations, okay, I'm going to do it. So this is a surface map. See how the black lines are pressure gradient lines? Or not, yeah, it's the pressure lines. So in the upper atmosphere, I would draw the jet stream like this, wouldn't I? You'd go, oh yeah, that's the jet stream. Well, at the surface, you got something different going on. Above the surface, away from the friction of the topography, above the surface, you can do that. The winds flow parallel to the isobars. At the surface, because the wind wants to flow parallel to the isobars, but what happens is it hits the surface and the winds start to bend. And so when you see that, you've got an offshore wind, right? Does that make sense? I'm oversimplifying, but you got to. So that's why it's all this. It's surface gradient, or the surface pressure and the upper level air pressure. It all works the same way, except because of the topography, the winds blow. So these winds are going to be blowing because it's a high pressure. The winds are blowing clockwise and out, but they get spun by the topography. So when we look for wind events, that's how I know that's an offshore wind. That's that piece that's going to blow offshore and get rid of the fog. Oh no, that's a harder one. We haven't really talked about that much. So that's that wind event, and then it kind of breaks down, and now we're looking to see there's no wind. And then here comes this piece. This is something right there. That breaks up whatever fog. The December 6th. This is almost sad. It doesn't mean it's going to go down this way, but right there, we're looking at Christmas. Not really, but seriously, that's the 13th of December. And that's a weather system. That's the first one we see. So when you look at the accumulation of rainfall, you see it's Oregon and Washington. They're getting their rain. December 6th, Saturday morning. Sunday, December 7th. December 10th. Wow, right, that's a long time. So that's December 13th, and then right around there. And that, I mean, if I'm Palisades, I got to go talk. I'll call Bill today. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're going to get it's going to be cold enough to make snow. It's just hard to open on man-made snow, you know. Okay, and then this is the whole West Coast, or the whole country. See the big, look at the ridge. See it out here? Coming up over the top. Dry, 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 dry. Yeah, there it is. So, it's way down the road, December 14th. Okay, that's sort of bad news. But what we've learned is bad news can change really quickly. Because if you remember 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the chance, real opportunity for significant rain. This is the Missouri map. FlightAware does this. They do put pop-ups in, so occasionally you'll see an advertisement. Just shows you where the airports are ass, basically. And you see the hubs. So right now, Chicago area, their delays are up here, a couple hour, 2-hour delays. Atlanta's got an hour delay. Dallas-Fort Worth has an hour delay. It's not as bad as it was, but these areas, the reds mean bad, Malo. And then this is the weather system underneath. And if we go like this, I think I can do this. Yeah, here, I'll do this. You can see over the course of the weekend how the airports reacted. And I know, it's kind of eye candy, but I do think it didn't get too bad on November 30th. Yeah, it's hard to read. But right, it'll stop it right now. And areas, the reds represent the amount of time you're waiting. And right now, these are hubs. That's Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, New York. These areas are busy. Even San Francisco has some flight delays. Oakland, San Jose, because of the fog. So we'll keep an eye on that from time to time. And here's that winter storm. It's cold, it's snowy, it's messy, and folks are trying to get home from grandma's house. And so, yeah, these are the watches and warnings, and it's just cold stuff. And then there's the satellite loop. The jet stream looks like this. Hope I didn't overwhelm you with there's a couple of jets going on there. Right here. And then you see the southerly jet. This can also come into play. That comes into play a lot during, El Nino events and things like that. Right now it's much further south. So there is the satellite loop. Here is that loop. Here is that. Here is that. This is the radar right now where the rain is falling. A little bit up in Pacific Northwest, lot of, this is freezing snow, freezing rain, just gets messy. The temperature, if it was just a regular weather system, it'd be fine, but the temperature when it gets below freezing creates nothing but havoc. This is the temperature outlook for this next 10 days, rainfall outlook. That all makes sense because we're not seeing any earthquakes. This is last day, and everything over 2.5. Okay, so every 2.5 earthquake. So we've had lots of little ones, but the triple juncture here, that's the spot you watch, just because it's all the plates meet there, or three of the big plates meet there: Juan de Fuca, Pacific Plate, and the North American Plate, and there's a lot of activity there. And then this little earthquake was a 2.9 in Kenwood, California, which isn't far from the geysers. Swell is up today, comes down a little bit tomorrow, and then pops back up right around here, around Thursday, Friday, and just keeps coming. But now it looks a little bigger as we go into the early part of December. This is Ocean Beach today. Not as big as yesterday, but still, you know, when swell, it's going to come up tomorrow, and it was big yesterday, so like it looks pretty mellow, but if you sit out there long enough, you're going to take one on the head. That's why it's not real crowded, because it's when there's swell in the water, it takes a while for it to go away. This is where are we, Halama, and that's a nice day. They got a little coastal fog, or is that? That looks like, I'll bet that's a little valley fog that's got blown out through the channel there. Yeah, I think that's valley fog. It's coming out, and then we've got Mount Shasta. I'm moving along because I'm running out of time. But Mount Shasta, a closer shot. And even there, it's not as much snow as we'd like to see. And then Whitney. Mount Whitney is, I always forget Whitney. Whitney's 14,505. I don't know how I forget that. 14,500, that's a big one, man. Jeez, right? Shasta's up over, which Shasta? 14,505 Whitney. Shasta is 14,1. So they're close. They're only a few hundred feet apart, but Shasta just looks that much bigger because it sits along by itself. These are folks making snow. I thought I'd show this as Heavenly this morning, North Star this morning, 27 degrees. And look, they're just going nuts over there, right? They are just blowing snow because they got to get open. I mean, this is, Thanksgiving is when they make money. So that's how they make snow. They got their own holding ponds. They got it. It's not going to be cold enough this afternoon, but probably blow snow all night. And I think at one point, but like we'll check back from time to time on this. Like that's a terrain park. We'll check back from time to time over the next couple of days to see if they can get that filled in. They'll probably get it pretty filled in. But yeah, it almost looks like it's snowing, doesn't it? And then birds, waiting for them to come back. Apparently Shadow and Jackie have been back in the nest. This is Big Bear. And hopefully Shadow's been fixing the nest up, and maybe that's a good sign for things to come. And then, dang. All right, I guess that's my last shot. I thought I had some Venice in there just to end it on a warm note. Okay, that's a lot of weather, huh? This is Bill Martin's West Coast Weather Channel, where California weather meets